How are we getting on, folks? Luke here from LAGFX. We're back today with another Sunday Sessions video. If you are new to this series, it's where me and James basically go through the markets, giving you guys distinctive zones and areas to look out for where you could potentially look to trade from and obviously profit with the LAGFX team. What I'm going to do is go over some of the pairs that I am looking at on my watch list this week, highlight some zones and areas for you all, and give you a breakdown on my analysis essentially. Once I've done that, I will then hand you over to James and he will do the same. If you do go on to enjoy today's Sunday Sessions video, don't forget to leave it a thumbs up. All the support you guys provide is extremely appreciated. Now, without further ado, let's jump straight into today's Sunday Sessions video. Okay, so you will see on screen, we currently have the Great British Pound to the US dollar market. I have highlighted a demand zone that I would like to see price trail back into before delivering us with the break of structure to the upside and the confirmation to actually enter in on those buy positions. Now, you might be wondering, why am I looking to buy into this market? Well, this market is actually bullish. If we just zoom out, you will see that at the moment we are within a corrective phase, and I am wanting to see price actually trade us into this higher time frame supply zone. Once we have a penetration of this higher time frame supply zone, that is when I'll be looking to get actively involved in those sell positions. Because as we know, the overall structure of this market is bearish. So realistically, we want to be trading with the prevailing trend. So we do want to be looking for sell positions overall. But as of current, we are within a corrective phase. As you can see, if I just get my path tool, we have an impulse, and now we are within the correction. Then once we have the penetration of this zone, we then want to see the deliverance of its next impulsive wave taking us lower. So, as I said, because we are within a corrective phase, we want to be looking for buying opportunities. Now, I have highlighted this supply zone that we have seen price penetrate and sweep multiple times. I am wanting to see price now break down, trading us lower into this demand zone, where obviously we will then be looking to buy into the market, taking full advantage of this corrective wave. Now, this is great because we can look to sell before we buy, before we ultimately sell again longer term. So we've got the potential here to place 3 positions over the course of the next few months in this market. Now, my entry confirmation for potential sells into the demand zone will come from some kind of break of structure to the downside. So we just need confirmation that this bullish correction taking us into the supply zone has finished, has concluded, and the next bearish impulsive wave taking us lower is ready to take place. So what I want to see is a break of structure here. Once we have that, we can look for a pullback and we can look to get involved. So we want to see price break, trade us back up to give us a refined entry, and then trade us lower. So in doing that, we are getting a refined entry somewhere around here, trading price down, where we can then look to buy into the market. So if you've noticed, we want to get involved in the fractal structure, trading us lower into this demand zone, where we'll be then looking to get involved in the higher time frame structure, buying into the market. And then once we see the supply zone penetrate to the upside, our higher time frame supply zone, that is when we can then look to get involved in sell positions on the higher time frame structure as well. So if you haven't done already, highlight this demand zone for yourself, because this is an area that you are going to want to be looking to buy from. It does highlight a clear, unmitigated last sell to buy region. So I am predicting that once price does penetrate this, a lot of demand is going to be introduced and we are going to see that next bullish leg take place. Just highlight this last structural low here. We want to see price break beneath that. So we have confirmation that this current bullishness is finished and we're going to see the introduction of some bearish structure where we can then obviously look to sell. Okay, so now moving over to the euro to the US dollar market. We have very similar structure being put out. Reason being, the US dollar is quote currency for both Great British Pound to the US dollar and obviously euro to the US dollar. Hence why we are seeing similar structure and similar data being produced. Now, again, what I'm wanting to see is price penetrate this potential sell zone so we can then go forth and place sell positions and take advantage of the next higher time frame impulsive wave. As we know, if we just zoom out, this market is evidently bearish, putting in lower highs and lower lows. So all I did was look at this impulsive wave taking us lower. For a valid supply zone, I've managed to find one. So I am wanting to see price trade us into this before delivering us with that next impulse. Now, in the meantime, we should be looking to buy into this market as it is within its corrective phase. So all I've done, now looking at the 4-hour time frame, is find two valid demand zones that we can look to potentially buy from. Now, in doing so, what we can do is actually look to sell into this market before we buy from one of two potential buy zones. So again, we want the exact same thing to happen. The only difference is we have been delivered with that confirmation. So you can see a break of structure was delivered to us. So we've had the deliverance of a break of structure, which confirms that this bullish impulse has finished, and we should start to see the creation of bearish structure. So with that being said, now that we've had the BOS, we can look for potential supply zones to get introduced into this market. So it's just a case of going down on time frames and really refining where we are looking to get involved from. So I can see a last buy to sell region here. Price came to tap into this perfectly, so we could have actually got involved around here. Nevertheless, we could now look within this impulsive wave for an area that price can look to trail back into. So let's just go down time frames again and try and find any other unmitigated areas that price realistically needs to tap into. So if we go down to the 1 minute time frame, there might be something that is screaming out to us. No, that's fine. So this area here looks to have been left unmitigated, so I'm going to highlight this as a last buy to sell region that price should come up to trail into before ultimately delivering us with the confirmation we need in order to execute those sells. So highlight this zone out for yourself. I will put it on screen, so highlight it for yourself and look to potentially sell from this sell zone. Perfect. So now that we have our potential sell zone, we can draw our path out as to how we want price to play out. So we want price to continue trading us up. I won't be looking to buy into this market. I'll just wait for price to actually tap in. And then we want price to actually trade us lower. So if we just zoom out, we want price to actually take us all the way down into this higher time frame demand zone. So we have a lot of room to profit when it comes to placing those sell positions. Once price taps into this, evidently we'll be looking to close those sell positions and place our buy positions. But just as an example, let's say we get involved on this next correction, this next fractal correction. We have our stop loss just above the zone. So our stop loss only needs to be realistically 10 pips large. We would have our take profits set just above this potential buy zone. As you can see, we are walking away with a 1 to 32 risk to reward ratio. So by going down on time frames and looking at the fractal structure, really refining our entry, we are able to walk away with some brilliant risk to reward returns. If you haven't highlighted this zone, highlight it out now. I will pause the video for 5 or so seconds, highlight it for yourself, ensure you apply it to your charts and look to buy from that zone. So moving over to AUD USD. Again, we are within a corrective phase at the moment. We are wanting to sell into this market. Again, I have highlighted a supply zone that we can look to get involved from. So what I want you guys to do is highlight this zone out for yourself. This is on the 4-hour time frame, as we can see here. Highlight this supply zone out for yourself. Perfect. So as you can see, I have highlighted out that supply zone for you all. Make sure you apply it to your own charts and wait for price to penetrate and tap into this zone. Once price has done so, we will then just be looking for the right confirmation in order to execute. So it will just be a case of going down on the time frames, looking at the structure of the market and what's being put in, the highs and lows. As soon as we have a break in the structural lows, that is when we can start to look to get introduced in those sell positions. So assuming price continues bullish now, not creating another structural low, we would just want a break in this one that has been set recently. We'd want to see a break in this low here, and then we can look to get involved once price has pulled back, giving us the ability to get in on a refined entry. So if I just get my path tool out, this is exactly how I'd like to see price play out. Price to tap in, deliver us with the break of structure, put in the corrective wave, and then we can get introduced on that correction. Okay, finally moving over to the XAU to the US dollar market. This is on the 1 minute time frame. Just to start off the analysis, highlight this demand zone out for yourselves. This is going to be an area we can look to potentially buy from. What we have just seen recently is price actually tap into a higher time frame supply zone. Price does now look to be distributing. So if I just get rid of this old analysis, price does look to be distributing and preparing for a move lower. So once we are delivered with the breaks of structure, the breaks in the neckline, that is when we can look to get involved in short positions on this market. We'd have our take profit set just above this demand zone in order for our take profit to be achieved. Our stop loss would be set just above a structural low that was created. And then once price does take profit, tapping into this demand zone, we can close those positions, or those positions will automatically be closed. And then we can look to buy into this market, trading price higher, breaking these structural highs that have been set as of recently. Now that is going to summarize my analysis for this Sunday sessions. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have done, then brilliant. As I said to you earlier, leave a like on the video. If you are wanting to see my Great British Pound to the Japanese Yen analysis and my Euro to the Great British Pound analysis, then join the Learning Lounge group chat. Link will be left in the description, as I will be publishing my analysis there to all of our clients. We have some brilliant trading opportunities coming this coming week, so be sure to join the Learning Lounge group chat and get yourself involved with the LAGFX team. Now, without further ado, let me pass you over to James.
Hey everybody, hope we're all doing well. So today I'm going to be starting off on Euro US dollar market because I believe we're in a fairly pivotal point. Now I was slightly, I wouldn't say confused, but I was in a point with this market where it was sort of like a 50-50 of whether the market was going to continue upwards or continue lower. So obviously we know, as I'm sure I covered in the last week's episode, that this market has recently delivered us with this 4-hour impulse to the upside. Now obviously our original expectation was for price to tap into this supply zone here before reversing, moving lower. Of course price hasn't done that. We started breaking to the downside. Then it seems like demand took control, and instead we made that impulse higher. So obviously we've liquidated that. What we're working within is this still as an impulse. Now what was happening as we were heading into the start of last week, as we see Monday the 23rd, so last trading week, what was happening there is that it appeared originally that after this break of structure we may have been getting ready to start delivering ourselves with a correctional wave in the scheme of this 4-hour impulse, in which case obviously that's going to start to offer us those longer term buy positions to really start getting involved in the market to profit longer term, because obviously we can see this market is predominantly bullish, and therefore we want to be getting involved in the buy side from a higher time frame correctional wave. Like obviously yes, the market's bullish, so we need to get involved in buys, but if we get involved in buys at the top of the current impulse, it's very likely that a correctional wave is coming soon, and therefore we cannot profit from that position as much, and we're also more liable to a stop loss hit. So the most important thing is trying to gauge when a correctional wave is coming. Okay, so when a correctional wave does come, that gives us the opportunity to go short in the shorter term to trade price lower into the demand zones. Again, this is all a part of the bias and the story we have built, because our story is the fact that yes, on the higher time frame, price will continue higher, but in order to do that, once we have signs that it's delivering a correctional wave, we know the correctional wave must come down to mitigate an order. Okay, so what are the two main orders we've identified? 1 and 2. So therefore, if a correctional wave is forming, we expect price to tap into either this zone here, this zone here, or there's even a smaller zone down there. But in my eyes, the correctional wave is only really forming when this low here gets broken. So we're just going to be waiting for that. We'll quickly head down into the lower time frame very quickly. But my point being, arguably, once we have confirmation, or we have early confirmation that correction is being created, we will then start going on the short side, getting sell positions down to these points of interest. And then obviously once we reach those, looking for those higher time frame accumulations as a sign that the institutions are taking over, they're reversing the market, and they are ready to create the next impulse higher, which we can look to profit from. For example, from this zone where we'd expect the high to get penetrated, we're talking about 233 pips. So obviously a very large position to be gained. Regardless, let's start focusing on what price has done much more recently. So what was happening is we originally had a very fractal break structure. I was expecting to see a reaction from this demand zone. Entry confirmation was given. We got involved in a position. We took a loss. Price then started reacting evidently from supply zones, and I was expecting that to continue quite linear fashion from this point, where we'd see some very clear impulse correction, impulse correction, impulse. Obviously that's not happened as we've entered midweek, I guess, yeah, Wednesday, midweek, towards end of the week. Obviously we've sort of stuck within a range in this period. However, on that late Thursday, early Friday, we can see that we are actually starting to react to supply, which in my eyes is going to be an indication that supply is starting to take control. I'm going to be keeping an eye on this zone because obviously I have it marked for a reason. It represents an unmitigated order, and therefore when price does approach, I'm going to keep an eye on that just to see how it reacts. If supply is showing clear signs of taking over, then it's obviously going to be less likely that this demand zone reacts, because why would supply be taken over? Well, of course, that would be in order to deliver us with that higher time frame correction. So what evidence do we have that supply is taken over? Well, everywhere inside of this region where we find a buy to sell candle, buy to sell candle, buy to sell candle, each one that we're identifying is showcasing the fact that price has come back into that region, reversed, reacted, made a move lower. So obviously from I guess the last 2 days of the trading week, there were some very good sell opportunities that presented themselves inside of this market. Now, this is the best one here because that's a very clear buy to sell with market inefficiency paired alongside it that has been tapped. As we come lower, I would have argued that this overall zone has already been mitigated and therefore probably would have also been looking inside of that. However, if we go to the lower time frame, we can see, although we were unsure at first, even if we refine it to that small position or not, I still think that looks better on this lower time frame. Inside of here, again, we've still got that overall buy to sell candle that we see prices reacted to. Some very nice entry confirmation we can see in this area. We start to build liquidity, push through that, build liquidity again, push through liquidity one last time, come to break structure to the downside, and then we come back to tap into this last buy to sell region. So definitely a solid entry could have been found inside of there. Same again up here on the lower time frame, another solid entry could be found, but we're getting too caught up on what's already happened. My apologies. Let's talk about what will. I still believe price is just going to continue trading bearish from this point. There's no clear supply zones as of right now. We've recently tapped into this. We've already invalidated the zone that would be down there. However, there's a small little region up here I probably want to say is pretty relevant, and therefore I'll keep that one identified. We'll just have to see where price lays when the market opens. We want to just keep an eye on that zone I've just marked, so setting an alert at 1.08867, and also keeping an eye on this demand zone here around that 1.08148. Now, if price falls through this zone and invalidates this demand zone, I believe that's pretty much strong evidence that that correction is forming. So yeah, keeping the alert there is going to be very valid for us to be able to determine what is happening long term. Let's now just quickly head on over to the US dollar yen. I've not actually looked at this the last couple of days, so let's see how it has been playing out. So I was mainly looking inside of this region for buy positions, for the continuations from demand zones. Obviously we can see that price has been reacting from those pretty well, and we've had continuous reactions to very clear sell to buy regions. If we zoom out quickly just to get an overall picture of what's been happening, we have a sell to buy region here that's been identified on the 1 week time frame. We've just tapped into that. We're showing early signs of reversal, okay, because bullishness is prevailing since the tap of this zone. However, of course, on the higher time frame scheme of things, we don't really have great confirmation that we are reversing, continuing higher until that high is broken, indicating a clear valid break of structure. Obviously on the lower time frames, yes, we've had the breaks of structure, yes, we've had the continuations from demand, but if we are going to accumulate inside of a higher time frame point of interest, The second we reverse, the market should be ready to take off and take off with high volume. Now, that is far from what has happened here. We can see that since the reversal and fractal breaks higher, there's not been much volume to the upside other than this crazy candle, which I believe was backed by some form of news or something economically. Outside of that, the reactions to demand zones have not been very major. We see here we're already getting hesitation to move higher. We've still not even broken the previous high, so that's not a good sign at all. The only hope this trend has left is to come and tap and reverse from this zone. If it is unable to do that and react from it with high volume, it's very likely that price is actually just going to continue lower longer term. Now, if it does so, we have another zone identified down in this region, which we've identified on the higher time frames, more specifically refined to that region, that I would expect price to then come down to next. I mean, we have a big span or a big region in between this where if price does fall lower, we should then continue bearish for a very long time. So analyzing the volume and spread of the candles and the supply and demand balance in the market, although I would like to see the reversal and continuation higher from here, we're starting to get signs that that's not going to happen. If so, and price starts to move lower, we can look to get involved in bearish positions longer term, because from the penetration of this zone, we're looking at just shy of 1,000 pips there to the downside, so a lot of downside potential here. So all we're really saying is if price invalidates this demand zone, we'd start looking inside of the structure, inside of here, for clear supply zones to start getting involved with, to trade price lower and looking to hold those positions for a very, very long time. Very quickly, let's round up on the gold market. This appears to be curving off as well. Overall bias is, if we zoom out, for price to come and hit this supply zone before reversing, taking a move lower. So obviously I'm expecting price to just continue trading bullish until we reach that zone. There was a crazy position we caught on here that was sent out to the VIP chat. A 26 RR trade followed by a 15. So that's about 41 RR total. Slightly over 41 RR total within from Monday midday until Tuesday morning. So within 18 hours, there was 41 RR to be gained there. This whole bias, this whole outlook was sent into the VIP chat, sorry. So if you want the opportunity to see the setups I'm watching, to see the analysis that I am providing on a daily basis, and potentially to profit from positions like this, given you would like to follow my trading style and my execution style, then obviously take a look into the VIP chat. Moving forward, just like Euro USD, the market is starting to range. We're showing signs now of wanting to break down because we've stopped reacting to demand. We've stopped creating nice bullish structure. But because we are ranging, we're just going to have to see how price reacts and falls through when the market opens and we enter Monday, whether we break to the downside, show clear bearish signs, or whether we actually break to the upside and continue bullish. We'll just have to update the analysis and our bias then. It's hard for us to create something clear as of right now. So keep your eye out in the VIP chat or the Learning Lounge to see how we're tackling these markets when that more or extra information is given. Regardless, that is going to conclude my section and conclude today's video. Thank you everybody for watching. Make sure to leave a like, support us. It really does help us in the algorithms and help get us out there. As always, make sure to get involved in the Learning Lounge, all that good stuff. But without banging on, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next Sunday in the next Sunday sessions.